Welcome to Concussion Talk Podcast. I'm Nick Mercer. This is episode 59. Concussion Talk Podcast is presented by HeadCheck Health. HeadCheck Health bridges the gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Track Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck Health to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more. Today, for episode 59, I'll be talking to Molly Parker and Natasha Wilch about their exciting new partnership to treat concussions. Okay, Natasha, can you just please introduce yourself and talk about how you got involved with concussions?
Yeah, so my name is Natasha Wilch, and I'm a registered physical therapist in Canada. And I own a multidisciplinary clinic called Symphony Rehab. I'm a big proponent of collaborative care and people working together to help people reach their goals. And so that was my dream when I built my clinic.
Where in Canada are you?
I'm in Nanaimo, British Columbia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started working with concussions, several years ago. Symphony's opened, we opened our brick and mortar clinic in 2016. And concussions fascinated me, and I loved it because they were so unique to each individual person. There was absolutely no cookie cutter plan you could do to treat an individual with a concussion. And I love that. I love the puzzle, but I also love being able to help people take steps forward in their lives. That's really important to me. And so I kind of started down this educational rabbit hole. And I'm a neurological physiotherapist. I am working through my fellowship in functional neurology with a more of a focus in concussion and TBI. I'm vestibular trained, I'm acupuncture trained, I'm AIMS trained, I'm BOBATH trained, chronic pain, a lot. And so I have all these different tools and things and opportunities and knowledge that I draw from every time I treat an individual with concussion.
So I don't know, kind of through all of those different disciplines that you're familiar with, but how are you neurologically trained? What's your background? Your new, your BOBATH. Let's say BOBATH. Let's start with BOBATH. What does that mean?
BOBATH is a type of, so not so much to treat my concussions. BOBATH is a type of neurological assessment and treatment. So it's a framework that I use and that will apply a lot of the time when I'm treating some of my movement disorder clients or some of my strokes or my Parkinson's or things like that.
You're right. Okay. And before I get that, that's all. All the different training is fascinating stuff. But Molly Parker was here in episode 50. Beginning of January. And for those who, I guess maybe some people may not remember the podcast exactly. So, Molly, could you give a brief background about you and how you met Natasha and why you are now also in Nanaimo, BC?
Yeah, so Nick and I did an episode back in January, so I'll just be briefs if, for those who don't know. But so my name is Molly Parker, and sorry?
I was saying those people can go listen to the podcast.
Yeah, definitely go back to listen, episode 50, landmark. So I'm a physical therapist. I'm American, and my background was pretty much in orthopedics, but we also did this kind of subspecialty in town where we got a lot of the difficult cases. And so it would end up being folks kind of in that sensitive nervous system realm, chronic pain, autoimmunes, things like that. So my background kind of right out of school was we did a lot of collaborative care because we needed to work with other healthcare providers in the area. And then just really getting good at understanding kind of those deeper levels and those deeper systems that were often missed. And then I became interested in concussions because I had my own. I got hit by a car as a pedestrian in 2011. And I thought I was lucky. I just had a concussion, like air quotes, and it just kind of unraveled. And I ended up down this really long journey, getting worse for years before I really started to meet people who knew what they were doing. And so now I've progressed quite a bit. I'm at the point where it's like very specific, and putting it all together, you really need someone who knows their stuff. So Natasha and I met actually through social media. We jokingly met through Instagram. We had a mutual colleague who treated me, who they did Parkinson's retreats together. And so we were both really interested in, and we started, bouncing ideas off each other a lot and just being friends. And then after I had this past October made a lot of improvement with treatment, was doing really well, kind of sunk my last dime into it, and ended up getting exposed to mold. And I have a movement disorder with my concussion, so my whole body freaked out. And I was kind of like, what on earth am I going to do? And Natasha, being who she is, here.
Oh, one second.
We'll treat you, we'll get everything going. And so I came up here, and she is just one of those rare people that really knows how to put it all together. And it's beautiful on this little island, even though we're quarantined. Yeah. And here we are.
Okay, and you guys are doing you guys combined for, I can see you're still talking there now, but I can hear you, Molly. Your reception is a bit wonky, or mine is, or somebody's is, but that looks better. Well, use this time. I'll ask Natasha more about your journey to not just concussions but physiotherapy and that.
Yeah, so I kind of came to physiotherapy in two ways, to be honest. So I had a cousin I was very close to who was in a dirt biking accident in his early 20s, and he became a quadriplegic from it.
Oh.
And so when we would talk, he's an amazing man, he's good, but when he would share with me about his rehab and the people that really pushed him and kept him going and kept him motivated, he talked about his physiotherapists. No. And he talked about how that rehab team was such an important core group in his recovery and his journey. And
is that what got you interested in this cooperative rehab, this therapy, this just not just one, just a single physiotherapist, just a bunch of physios and OTs and psychologists and speech therapists and all that? Is that why you got involved with that?
He's the reason I got involved with physio, because he would talk a lot about his physiotherapists working with him and his OTs. But after I graduated physio school, I actually worked in the hospital. So I've done a lot. So I worked in the hospital system in acute care. Okay. I worked in rehab. I worked in the emergency department. I worked in pediatrics. I did a whole bunch of stuff in that beginning stage. And I've always liked working as a team. I've always been a bit of a team player and love getting multiple heads together to figure things out. And where you really see that as being crucial is in that acute care setting, for sure, because if the whole team doesn't come together to help a client in their health journey and discharge planning, it falls apart. And so seeing how important that was in the acute care setting, to me, people's goals don't end when they leave the hospital.
Right.
And so there's, to me, that collaboration and that care needed to continue within the community as well. And it's just, like we talked about earlier, it's just easier to facilitate that when you're all under the same roof.
It's just true enough, yeah. And that goes well with concussions, because not only do they not, the concussion and neurological care not end with the hospital, that's just the beginning of it, really. And Molly and Natasha, you guys are both working together to produce, say, this webinar you're doing soon, or on the, when is this webinar going out?
It'll be on the next Friday.
Next Friday. And what's the webinar called, and what are you doing? What's the webinar about? What's it all about, the whole thing?
Yeah, Natasha and I, we both, share this love of concussions, and she's someone who, every day in her clinic, she's seeing people, going through it and struggling, and hearing the stories that I experience in my own recovery. And both of us really want to work towards making concussion recovery just a bit easier for everyone involved. up. It's going to be next Friday, April 10th. Take you through 3 things that you can apply to your recovery today to help make a positive impact in it. So it's actionable. You'll be able to listen to it and then immediately apply it into your recovery. And we would absolutely love for you guys to come and join us.
Perfect. Well, I definitely will. I'll be there. And Natasha, can you give us maybe a sneak preview of what those 3 things are? I guess I don't know. Not without giving away. Now I don't want to ruin your webinar, but you know, what are you talking about in general? What is the theme? What are the areas you're going to touch on?
Well, let's just say that I think what happens a lot in concussion recovery is that people get used to passive treatment. And by that, I mean people get used to needing to take medication or rely on people doing things to them as a form of treatment, which can be don't get me wrong, it can be super helpful in people's lives. The 3 things we're going to teach are things that individuals can do on themselves to make their own changes in the recovery, to empower them and to take some of that control back that they're in charge of, and knowing that this is truly something they've done actively to continue to move them forward in their recovery.
So Molly, when you and Natasha met, how much did she know about, or Natasha, I guess, maybe a better question for you, how did your view of concussion treatment and what you have to do and how you understood it when you met Molly, who was a physiotherapist who also had a concussion? How did you analyze that situation differently? Or did you analyze differently?
Sorry, Nick, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, it was a jumbled question, so don't worry if you don't understand it, because I didn't understand myself. Because where Molly is a physiotherapist who had a concussion, and you studied concussions in your not theory. I don't say in theory to make it sound like it's nothing, but like and you studied them in school. But speaking to someone and doing someone who's actually a physiotherapist knows the general guidelines, but is also a concussion survivor, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah.
But how is that different? Did you treat Molly?
How is that different in how I treat and assess Molly?
Yeah, Molly compared to say the non-physio.
Yeah. So it doesn't change how I assess Molly.
No.
But it can change how Molly and I can communicate.
Right.
Because Molly has that physical therapy training and she understands physio and she understands concussion, I can be a bit more academic, let's say, in the way I address things. And when I tell her certain issues, she understands what I mean right away. Whereas for other clients, I may have to explain it a bit differently.
Yeah.
But in terms of my assessment, how I assess Molly is the same. That way I go through my same process as I assess everyone else, because although Molly is a friend and a colleague and a physical therapist, she's still also someone who's recovering from concussion. And so I want to make sure that when I assess her, I cover all those domains that I know I need to cover, and I don't skip something because I think that she should know it because of her background, because that wouldn't be fair to her.
Good point, yeah.
It's been nice for me because then I can just take a step back and be a patient for once in my life and not have to keep track of someone. And I still Natasha did my assessment, and guys, if you're in the area, she's awesome and she does telehealth. But she did a few things that no one had ever done on me, and she did a couple things. Her clinic is so cutting edge, and some of the stuff they did I haven't actually had anyone do with me before. So I learned a ton from her in every treatment. What is this? Even though this is what I do and I live and breathe it, I still learn constantly.
Actually, I was going to ask you about that, Molly, because your Instagram page or social media, and you post a lot about concussion, the different tricks and tips. And did you learn anything about concussions? Have you learned? I mean, as you learned in your background through your own study of your own concussion, but how has doing that assisted in your own recovery?
I think the Instagram and I mean like a few prongs, because one, it's connected me to some really amazing people, like Natasha being one of them, that I don't know that I would have had access to. I had one time where I was stuck in my recovery, and I actually had someone on Instagram reach out to me and be like, hey, I think you might be interested in like XYZ, and it ended up being extremely helpful for me. So there's kind of that piece. There's the piece of like, it's very cathartic for me to kind of write out some of the really bad times in my recovery, and have it help other people. And then it's like, it's a constant learning curve for me. Like every time I think I've got like a little bit of a handle on like just the concussion world, I learn something else and realize I could spend the rest of my life like working on this stuff and still, not know everything there is to know.
Close,
But it got to the point where, at that point in my recovery, about 6 years in, where movement disorder had calmed down, and we started to get me back on the bike, and my heart rate was really high and really erratic. And the therapist I was at the time wasn't sure why. And I already knew what it was because of mostly through Instagram, because I would see these posts of other people, and it was POTS. And I'd see posts from other people, and I'd research what it is and, read some of the academic stuff. And so when I had it in myself, I was able to recognize it immediately, and then immediately know who I needed to go to for care. And now it's not something I deal with anymore, but I had it for years. And so it's just Instagram, social media, when you use it the way it's meant to be used, can really be a positive thing and connect you to a lot of other people and ideas. And I love it.
And Natasha, keeping back and forth, this is great. Did you have much experience with, say, POTS or any other? There's POTS, and there's one more that I talked to Lauren Zayaks. We talked about POTS and dysautonomia.
Yeah.
Did you have you experienced, both other of you have experience with that before concussions or after, or just in general?
Yeah, I did actually have experience with POTS before I started treating concussion. And, it's important to know that POTS is a type of dysautonomia,
right? But
it's not all dysautonomia, and right?
POTS, so dysautonomia. POTS I've touched with postural something.
Orthostatic tachycardia
syndrome. I know.
Yeah.
I knew PTNS, but no. What's that again?
Postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Right. So most people that have POTS can't stand upright without being extremely dizzy.
Yeah.
Right? Or there's to some level, right? There's varying degrees of POTS. And I think it's important to know that not every dysautonomia case has to be POTS.
Right.
There's varying levels, because remember, dysautonomia is just that imbalance and kind of dysregulation between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So the fight or flight guys or the rest and digest.
Yeah.
And so, yes, short answer to your question is I actually treated POTS before I treated concussion.
Okay.
And so for me, with my concussion clients, it's quite easy for me to identify when POTS is an issue or dysautonomia is an issue, which Molly has shared in her history, she's dealt with POTS. We see it quite often.
Sorry, Molly, did you see it before you experienced it?
I didn't know what it was until I experienced it, and then I experienced it for several years before I realized that's what it was. I thought I was having seizures because I used to I'd be upright, which now I'm like hindsight 2020, but cognitive impairment and all that involves, and I'd be upright and I would feel like my vision would occlude, so it would start to go black, and I would feel myself kind of falling backwards like I was going to pass out, and then I would kind of come to, so to speak, and I would still be carrying on conversation sometimes. The people I was talking to didn't notice at all, and I really felt like I was just hovering in and out of consciousness a lot of times when I was upright. And so for years, I didn't know what it was. I thought it would be seizures, but it really didn't fit into any bucket. And then I'd read a little bit about POTS. I was familiar with it. And then by the time I actually had a heart rate monitor on an exercise equipment and stood up and did that exercise equipment, it was very blatant to me what it was.
It goes from spikes.
Spikes.
All right, spikes, and then
so I used
that's
to,
it, fall over.
Yeah, so I'd be like at rest 100 beats per minute, and then I would stand up to like the dishes, and I'd be 180, which is extremely high.
Yeah.
And yeah, but so I learned about it through all the concussion stuff. I did not treat it before.
And did you know anything about seeing Natasha's favorite telehealth? How did you have much experience doing physiotherapy through telehealth, or is this Natasha's?
Can I brag about her?
You can. Well, that's a
Natasha Wilch is the 2017 Entrepreneur of the Year for Canada, all over the country.
Oh, nice.
And she won that for being an innovator in telehealth. So that's her introduction.
Now it's all you, Natasha. No, follow that up.
So I started researching telehealth I started researching it probably 2016. The thing, I'm kind of an out of the box thinker, Nick. I always think that I'm always looking for the best way to serve my clients and our communities. And I'm a physiotherapist as well for an online health and fitness and mindset community. And we had women from all over the world in that group. And I felt like I needed to find a better way to help them. And then I also had clients, because we're a bit of a specialized clinic with the neuro and the concussion we do, I would have people that would travel from quite a distance to come and see me. And I needed a way to follow up with them. So that in 2017, we launched our telehealth services. And so we've been doing it since then, both for clients that are 100% telehealth, because they live in areas where they don't have access to care.
Yeah,
and then also in a bit of
north of BC is BC is a big province, and there's a lot of, and you're on an island, and it's difficult to get to. Yeah. But again, you must be very helpful for them to be able to access you, even though they live in like Prince George or inland Prince George or something like that.
Well, and then just given the times we're in now, with having to do social distancing, we've all had to close our clinic doors in Canada.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much not allowed to do, I shouldn't say not allowed, it's recommended that we don't do any in-person treatments. And so our entire business now has shifted to telehealth. Yeah. And in doing so, because it's an area that I have the experience in, I've been teaching other clinic owners how to take their businesses online for telehealth as well.
On the webpage, yeah.
And the more business owners that do it, the more clients that can continue to be supported through this time as well.
And how do you, again, Molly, you can answer, how do you do physiotherapy treatment via telehealth for concussion or for anything really? How do you what kind of advice can you give via telephone that building can carry out their own physiotherapy session?
Yeah, so it depends on the therapist who's doing it, and it depends on the client. So for me, we use a video conferencing platform, so similar to Skype, but we don't use Skype, but it's a video conference back and forth.
Zoom?
Then I will pull in other apps and other things that give me objective data. We go through questionnaires, we go through assessment and treatment, and I have the client do things and give me feedback so I can watch their eyes and I can see how they move and all these different things so that I can still give them treatment. The thing is, through telehealth, like in everything, it's a partnership. Yeah. So the client and the therapist really truly work together to answer questions, to provide feedback, and then to continue to give specificity to that treatment plan for that person to still keep moving them forward.
Do you find it more difficult than being there with the person, saying, so you see their hip move forward or something like that, you can kind of grab the hip, say, hey, move that back, or, like touch them, give them tactile.
It has its limitations, for sure. Yeah. But there is plenty that you can do in telehealth, especially right now where people were already in active treatment, that they could continue to receive treatment to do progressions and change exercise plans that their therapists can do with them through the screen. And then again, for those people, I've done complete assessments through telehealth before, simply because people didn't have accessibility at all. And so it gave them a starting point.
And do you ever do any telehealth sessions with maybe not Natasha, or maybe Natasha? I know But anyone do you telehealth concussion treatment?
No, I haven't. When I was still in the clinic, that was not a thing.
No.
We didn't do any of that. I have done several months. Natasha and I did a couple coaching calls for me from her that we used. I can't remember what we used it. Maybe talked through it that way, so I could start to get kind of an ideas of how to move my recovery forward or how to blend things that I was struggling with. But yeah, that's my only experience with that.
Okay. And did you guys have any? You guys had or not just webinar, but another thing. Another webinar. Do you want to tease the webinar a bit more? Tease what you're saying and what you're gonna announce, or maybe not announce. Who knows? In the webinar, you guys are.
I think we're keeping some things touch of chest, but we want people to come to the webinar because we want to be able to give you tactical things that you can leave with and implement. And if you truly implement it, you can start to notice some change. And they are skills that they can leave with that day and start to practice and do.
Perfect. And Molly, giving that up?
No, I think that sounds great. All I'll say is a couple of things in particular is just stuff I really wish I would have had people guide me through from the beginning. So I think it was definitely going to be something that people will benefit from, and we're super excited about it.
And that's on Friday, April 10th.
Yes.
Where can they?
At 11 a.m. Pacific
11
time.
a.m. Pacific time, which is 2 p.m. No, it's 2 p.m. Eastern time. 3:30 for me.
Yeah.
But how are you guys? How is this whole situation affecting your clinic and your clients, Natasha? And I guess Molly, you don't have any clients around, do you?
No, I feel like social isolation is basically my life.
Yeah, well,
so I've been joking that this is the moment I've been training for. Not a ton is different.
No, I hear you. I hear you, Molly. I hear you.
For me, my clients have been concerned about if they can't come to the clinic, or I have people reaching out to me on social as well, that if their clinic is closed, right, how do they keep moving forward in their rehab? And so my feedback is, one, see if your clinic is doing telehealth. And if they are, book a session with your therapist. And then my second answer is join our webinar.
Right.
because we're going to talk about things that you can still do today without your therapist to keep you moving forward in your recovery.
So at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Friday, April 10th, where should they go if they want to log into webinar? Where should they? What website or what Instagram account or Facebook?
So if they go to concussion-compass.com, there will be a place where they can sign up for the webinar.
Concussion-compass.com.
Starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. Tomorrow being March 31st of.
Okay, how about starting April 1st? Sorry, I'm getting my days.
That's Wednesday. Yeah, 31 days in there, March, right? Okay, so Wednesday. Starting Wednesday morning or Wednesday anytime, I guess. Not just
Wednesday. Wednesday. Sign up will be available starting Wednesday.
Okay, Wednesday.
Yeah, and guys, I'll also put the link in my bio on my Instagram for anyone who just wants a click.
There you go. So go to Molly Parker PT or at Molly Parker PT Instagram, or at Natasha Wilch on Instagram, and soon you'll have a way to get a link to the concussion-compass.com sign-in page for the webinar.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much. And is there anything else you guys want to mention, or any way people can get and reach out to you?
I mean, I think Instagram is the...
Oh, sorry. Who's going?
This is my son. They can reach out to, I think, either of us through our Instagram. So at Natasha.Wilch for me, and at Molly Parker PT for her.
And what's your son's name?
This is Hudson.
Hi, Hudson. How are you?
How are you?
I'm Nick. I don't know if you can see me. I'm half lit. My face is like half light and not half dark. But anyway, great to meet you, Hudson.
I'm going to watch this.
Okay, I'll let Hudson.
I
love it.
Second, okay? Sorry, guys.
That's fine. That's fine. I should tell you.
Be right there, buddy.
Did you guys ever see the guy on the BBC who was like talking about something
North Korea, yeah.
I walked
Yeah.
That was amazing. Oh,
Everyone's like, we're all BBC dad now. Because we're all
right?
home.
Everything we're working from home.
Oh.
Well, thank you guys so much. That's great. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you,
much.
Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And please be sure to check out the webinar, which you can access via their Instagram pages. Molly Parker's is at Molly Parker PT, and Natasha Wilch is at Natasha.Wilch. And please visit my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages at Concussion Talk, and my website where you can find more of my blogs and all of my podcasts, concussiontalk.com. I hope you listen again soon. Thank you so much. Music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.